A long time ago, there existed a demon lord who terrorized the world until a hero stepped up to the stage and challenged the demon lord, ultimately defeating him and ending his reign. The hero then created Rosewood Academy, an academy made to help heroes in training achieve supremacy and help defend the world when needed that enrolls only the best of the best. Enter Arnest Flaming, a girl with a high sense of duty and the top student at the academy, hence receiving the alias Empress of Flames, who one day encounters the lively, carefree new transfer student Blade, a boy who seems to equal her in power, something that she finds really irritating. Arnest was then personally requested by the king to supervise and show Blade around the academy during his stay. The story follows the students' struggles in their quest to become heroes. At the outset, the great hero and the demon king clashed fiercely, with the hero using his sword and even infusing power into a stone to counter the demon king's strike. As they continued their intense battle, the great hero employed the formidable Dragon Series 5th sword, while the Demon King utilized satanic power at full force. The combatants eventually grew weary, and the great hero's hair turned white. Despite their exhaustion, they simultaneously stabbed each other with their swords. Meanwhile, at Rosewood Academy, students cheerfully made their way to school in the morning, exchanging greetings with one another. Among the excited newcomers was Blade, a transfer student eager to make friends and experience an ordinary life at the academy. He greeted everyone he encountered, sparking curiosity as he introduced himself to various students in the hallway. Blade soon met Cassim, Clay, Jessica, and Claire, and they engaged in a friendly chat. Shortly after, a girl named Arnest Flaming, Rosewood Academy's top student known as the Empress, joined the group. Blade approached her to introduce himself, prompting Arnest to question why he was admitted to the school so late as a new student. Blade asked her to guide him to the principal's office, where they were both surprised to find that the principal was none other than His Highness, the King. The King asked Arnest to excuse Blade and himself to talk in private. After Arnest left the office, Blade questioned the King's motives for becoming the school's principal. The King revealed his plan to help Blade regain his hero powers, which were lost during the battle between the Great Hero and the Demon King. He was taking over as principal since the previous one had been negligent in his duties. Blade, however, expressed his desire to lead an ordinary life and felt that restoring his powers was unnecessary. The king remained firm in his belief that Blade was the great hero and that his powers would be restored. Blade attended the advanced class training, where Arnest confronted him about his presence there. Blade explained that he had taken the exam for the lower class but was directed to the advanced class instead. Arnest suspected that Blade had used bribery to secure his place and challenged him to prove himself. She handed him a sword and requested that he at least make a slash through an armor made of enchanted metals. To everyone's astonishment, when Blade unleashed the power of his second sword, the entire room erupted in a dazzling display of energy. Armor shattered into pieces while everyone else, especially Arnest, who was standing beside him, got their cloths ruined along with the sword he was holding, which turned to pieces. Later at the cafeteria, Blade goes to Arnest's table, which is reserved for her alone, and everyone, including Arnest, is surprised because no one has the guts to sit with her since everyone is scared of her. But Blade actually reveals that he wants to be her friend, and she easily relents while Blade finds the food in the cafeteria delicious. When Arnest got home, she remains on having her first friend to be Blade, and while still in her thoughts, her sword started shaking on its rack. The next day at school, Arnest started acting violently and kept engaging in a duel after duel, but no one was able to defeat her until she fainted and was taken to the school clinic by Blade. At night, Blade sneaks into a room in the school to check data on Arnest's sword and discovers it is a demon sword called Asmodeus. The next day he approaches Arnest and reveals his findings on her sword, which she has no total control over, and asks her to fight the demon to submission in order to gain control. Arnest agrees after Blade assures her he's going to fight the demon if it takes over instead, and in the end, Arnest fought the demon and won. During the advanced class training, Blade decided not to draw his sword and engage in combat. Instead, he skillfully dodged every attack, frustrating Arnest, who felt Blade was disrespecting his opponents by not fully participating. Blade diverted the conversation by pointing out that Arnest looked different, leaving her shy when asked what exactly was different. As it turned out, she had changed her hairstyle, but Blade hadn't noticed. Embarrassed, Arnest tried to refocus on the task at hand. Arnest then entrusted Blade with the responsibility of watching over a girl named Sophie, who strictly followed commands. When Blade approached Sophie to inform her of this arrangement, she simply asked if it was a command. Caught off guard, Blade clarified that it wasn't and expressed his genuine desire to help her. He hoped to train Sophie in swordsmanship instead of her usual fist fighting, but they ran out of time for practical training that day. leaving Blade disappointed. Nevertheless, Blade and Sophie began their training together, and to his amazement, Sophie progressed rapidly, becoming proficient with a sword. Curious about her newfound skills, Sophie asked Blade if she could defeat Arnest, but he admitted he didn't know and cautioned her that reaching Arnest's level wouldn't be easy. In a friendly sparring session, Sophie managed to pin Blade to the ground, displaying her remarkable progress. She then requested Blade to teach her more the next day. One day, Blade visited the king, who inquired about his school life. Blade mentioned his newfound friend, Sophie, prompting the king to reveal Sophie's mysterious origin. Sophie was a product of the Artificial Great Hero Project, an experiment that aimed to surpass Blade's abilities. She was one of 12 duplicates created from the human Sophisha, and her obedience to commands was a result of the experiment. The king had saved her from this fate, and now Blade felt determined to help Sophie lead a normal life, despite his own lack of understanding about what that entailed. Seeking answers, Blade visited the school doctor, seeking to understand the concept of being normal. Though he impatiently grasped onto certain keywords like youth, he eventually ended up at Ernest's room, inquiring about dating. With Ernest's explanation, Blade excitedly rushed into the girls' washroom to ask Sophie on a date, and she surprisingly agreed. Blade meticulously planned different activities for their date, unbeknownst to Ernest, Jessica, and Claire, who were secretly following them. After a day filled with various adventures, Sophie finally confided in Blade about her unique origins, and in turn, he revealed his identity as the Great Hero. This revelation strengthened their bond, and they embraced their friendship with newfound understanding and support. At the bustling cafeteria, Blade had an insatiable appetite, devouring multiple plates of food until his face was smeared with sauce and crumbs. Sophie, his considerate friend, promptly assisted him in cleaning up, much to Ernest's astonishment. As they enjoyed their meal, the first 4 friends Blade had made approached the table, elatedly sharing news of their promotion to the advanced class. In the midst of their conversation, Ernest revealed the king's plan to introduce a magical beast to the school for training. While everyone was still discussing Blade's response to the king's idea, the building suddenly quaked and trembled. Curiosity piqued, they rushed to investigate the source of the disturbance, only to be met with the astonishing sight of a majestic magical dragon. Amidst the crowd's anxiety, Blade fearlessly approached the dragon, a fresh plate of food in hand. With a swift and gentle blow, he managed to tame the mighty creature, offering it the food as a gesture of friendship. To the amazement of onlookers, the dragon transformed into a human, and Blade was left dumbfounded. The young dragon human affectionately addressed Blade as her parent, but he was hesitant to accept this newfound role. However, she persistently clung to him, insisting on being part of his life despite his attempts to decline her affection. Later that evening, Blade took a bath with his newfound dragon daughter, whom he named Cuchulain. Ernest intruded on the private moment, shockingly witnessing Blade's nudity. She went on to explain that Ku had assumed a human form because magical dragons transform into anything that defeats them. Thus, Ku took on a human form after being defeated by Blade in their earlier encounter. Ernest reacted impulsively, kicking Blade in the face before storming out. The next day at the cafeteria, Ku expressed her desire to be fed by Blade, and he willingly obliged. However, when Claire attempted to feed her as well, Ku drove her away, asserting that she couldn't befriend weaklings. Ku proceeded to give Blade a set of instructions, which he obediently agreed to follow. As the advanced class members engaged in their training, they neglected Blade due to Ku's remarks about his tendency to gaze at adult female bodies. He joined the others in their training later, but Ku left when Blade focused on his classmates. Ku wandered off and observed her peers training but chose not to participate, deeming them inferior to her in strength. Blade's concern grew when he discovered her all alone in their room, playing by herself. It became evident that Ku had no friends and couldn't befriend anyone who wasn't stronger than her due to her inherent nature as a dragon. Together with Ernest and the rest of the advanced class, Blade hatched a plan. They implored all the students to confront Ku in her dragon form to engage in friendly battles. Everyone agreed, and a grand spectacle ensued, with the king also watching the event unfold. Through the compassion and support of his friends, Blade endeavored to help Ku overcome her isolation and foster true friendships in the magical school. As they embarked on this journey together, they learned the importance of understanding one another's strengths and weaknesses and the value of camaraderie and acceptance. The bond between Blade and Cuchulain only deepened as they faced new challenges, ensuring that their days at the magical school were filled with adventure, growth, and enduring friendship. The battle between Sophie and Ernest grew ever more intense, drawing on the skills they had honed during their earlier training sessions. Despite the king's initial doubts about their survival, they pressed on, executing their moves with precision. Sophie struck the first blow, followed swiftly by Ernest, leading the dragon into a trap that Leonard had cleverly dug during the fight. The dragon tumbled into the pit, momentarily stunned. Capitalizing on the opportunity, the two heroes unleashed a relentless assault, and with the help of other students offering their power, Ernest delivered the final, decisive blow using her legendary sword, Asmodeus. The dragon transformed back into its human form. Ku, Blade, ever the peacemaker, encouraged Ku to ask everyone to be her friend. After some persuasion, Ku finally reached out, and the students warmly welcomed her into their fold. Following the intense battle, the king introduced a new device called virtual reality harnessed through the fusion of magic and science. In the academy's cafeteria, Ku began to interact with her newfound friends. However, during a meal, Blade inadvertently made a comment about Ernest's weight. Stricken with remorse, Blade attempted to apologize, but Ernest retreated into her room for 2 days, feeling hurt and embarrassed. Recognizing their friend's distress, the other girls decided to support Blade in making amends. They entered Ernest's room, only to discover that she had been coping with her emotions by indulging in desserts. Worried about her health, the girls convinced Blade to help Ernest embark on a weight loss journey. Together with Ku, they started exercising with her. However, despite their efforts, Ernest struggled to shed pounds and, in fact, gain more weight. Frustrated and desperate, Ernest resorted to a dangerous act, using her demonic sword, Asmodeus, to consume her own flesh in a misguided attempt to lose weight. The situation quickly spiraled out of control, and she nearly lost her humanity. Thankfully, Blade intervened just in time, helping Ernest regain her composure and prevent a disastrous outcome. In the aftermath of the incident, Ernest's friends discovered her and Ku indulging in desserts once again, having gained even more weight. Concerned for her well-being, they confronted her about her reckless behavior. Ernest stubbornly insisted that she would employ her demon sword's power to lose weight in the future. Despite the struggles, Blade had successfully forged strong bonds of friendship within the school. As they faced new challenges with the installation of the virtual reality training device, they stood together, ready to confront whatever trials awaited them. The device promised to test their skills and camaraderie like never before, but with their newfound unity, they were determined to overcome any obstacles that came their way. Thus, the journey of Sophie, Ernest, Blade, Ku, and their fellow students continued, filled with adventure, growth, and the unyielding support of true friendship. Together, they aspired to become even stronger, not just as individual heroes but as a united force, destined to protect their world from any lurking threats.